Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in across the continent and beyond for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time, as so many of you are today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And everything we do goes to our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out like 4,000 past broadcasts, hearing from the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth, you can head there and do just that. Now, of all days to be joining us, I'm so happy you're joining us today, because today we are continuing our epic Guardians of Wild series in collaboration with your Toronto Zoo. I grew up in Toronto, so it's always a thrill to get to go back, and particularly with the zoo team. We have done over 40 programs with the zoo over our years. We've got Kahoot quizzes with them. We've got all sorts of great stuff highlighting the incredible work that they do to use science and conservation to help save species around this planet. It's such an amazing facility. It's a world leader in conservation, and this series is meant to celebrate and showcase some of the incredible people behind that. So I can't encourage you enough. Check out the Zoo's website. Check out our other 3 broadcasts coming up in the series in the next few weeks. But without further ado, today we are going to talk about species management, AI monitoring, and the Zoo Monitor program. So if you're as excited as I am about all that, then I will zip it and take you over to Mary Ellen to dive in and take us away. Hello, Mary Ellen.
Hello, Jesse. Thank you so much. We're very excited to be joining you all here again today as the second of 5 in our virtual series here with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants in our Guardians of Wild Becoming One series, all about learning how we take care of our animals here, how conservation efforts matter, and then what we can also do at home to make a difference or a positive impact on the world around us, which is so very cool. I'm in our Indo-Malaya section here of the Toronto Zoo today with our welfare and science team. And we're going to be learning a little bit more from them about how we care for the animals and some really cool applications of different and new technologies that we see in the world around us, and that collaboration that we see and that is so desperately needed in the fight against extinction as well. But before I turn it over to this amazing team, and we also introduce our friend behind us in the fence here, I'm just going to have Jesse bring up our land acknowledgement here for us. And we would like to acknowledge that the land that we are standing on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We would also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Chippewa and Mississauga bands. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jesse. So without further ado, I'm going to flip our camera over here. So give me 1 second to get our technology going with us. And we are going to first up be meeting one of our welfare science members, Olivia. So come on over, Olivia.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia. I am an animal welfare research assistant here at the Toronto Zoo. We're having a beautiful day. And I just really am so excited to show you the best part of my job, which is actually I get to watch the animals. A really big reason why everyone even comes to the zoo is to see the animals. And I am honestly so grateful that a big part of what I do is I get to watch these amazing animals. This right here is Kamala. She is our Sumatran tiger, and she is a geriatric tiger. So a big part of our job is monitoring what she does, where she uses the space, how she uses the space. She has choice and control of her habitat. What choices does Kamala make? And what can we provide to Kamala to inhibit those naturalistic behaviors? So first, I want to just take a little step back, and I really want to bring up, Jesse, if we can bring up our 5-domain model. Yes, perfect. So holistically together, we really want to promote science when we make decisions for animal welfare to promote optimal well-being in all of our species. And to do that, we have to work holistically together. So through our 5 domains, we have our nutrition team, which is connected to our environment, to health, to behavior, to mental state. So these are our 5 domains, but a big part of this is it's a puzzle. So everything is interconnected. Everything is working together. Nutrition has a big impact. Every animal here at the zoo has a specialized diet, which can impact their behavior, impacting their mental state. Health, we have an amazing team of vets and techs, and we can use proactive healthcare, which is awesome. So we work really closely with our vets. Environment, we work really closely with our exhibit design teams. We work really closely with facilities and infrastructure as well, making sure that our animals have everything they need to make decisions and to have the agency of their own lives and decide what they want to do and when. And behavior is kind of our puzzle piece. And we monitor and track what they're doing. Oh, she's so cute. What they're doing and where they're doing it. And we can make informed decisions based on that. And it's all affecting their mental state and mental well-being, because optimal animal well-being here is our goal. So I have a question for everyone while Kamala is just in her cave enjoying her snack. What behaviors do you do at home, and what do those behaviors look like?
Ooh, so again, as we go through this, we're going to be having a bunch of questions for the audience. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, StreamYard, you want to share in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. For me, it's a lot of being at the computer. I think a lot of our friends that do work at home, or certainly work in any fashion, will be at the computer quite a bit. I love coffee. I start my day with a few cups of coffee. I love books. I've got quite a few behind me. That's why I love reading. We've got a few of those too. Eating. So eating, sleeping, all the basics. Yes, everything that we sort of do to keep our life going for walks. These are great answers. Playing, reading, drawing, painting, creating. Way to go, Madeline. So all the things that make life worth living, both for sustenance and for just a creative expression. Great.
Perfect. We're just getting into a slightly different location here, Jesse. Kamala took her lovely enrichment, and this is part of that free choice and control that Olivia was just talking about. She took it and decided to go into her den. So we're just moving spots here so we can get a better view on her while she's having that choice and control.
Yeah, so back to behavior. So Kamala is clearly eating. So when we are watching behavior, what we use is an ethogram. So an ethogram is a list of all different behaviors, and not only what the behavior looks like, but how Kamala is manipulating her food, how she is holding her food, chewing her food, using that musculoskeletal system. Every single detail that we have for Kamala and how she eats or how she walks or what play looks like for her is how we want to have it in an ethogram. If you wanted to bring up, Jesse, our inputs and outputs slide. So when you think of behaviors at home, Jesse, I know you said you like to read, you like to go on walks. In order to read, we do need reading material, or we need a book. So that's what we kind of call our welfare inputs. So everything that we can give Kamala, like an enrichment item, like different substrates, scent enrichment, everything we give her will provide an output of the behavior that we can actually see, monitor, and track. I don't know if he's our slide.
Oh, I go to the next one if I'm on the wrong one. Sorry
Yes,
about that,
please.
guys. There we are.
So that's Harry's data. So that is our male Sumatran. If you wanted to go to Kamala,
There we go. Kamala. Sweet.
So we use a system called Zoo Monitor. So Zoo Monitor is an application made by our friends at Lincoln Park Zoo, and we have Kamala on our route. So we have been watching Kamala for over a year now. So this is about a year supply of data. You can see she uses many spots of her habitat with the heat map there. So the spots in red, she uses a lot more than the spots in blue. We like her habitat space use. You can see that it's quite varied all around. And you can see she engages in quite a lot of behaviors here, and which is what we like to see. So this data is not only important for us to track and to have, but it's also really important for us to share. We share this with our wildlife care keepers so they can see what Kamala is doing when they're not here. We share it with our vets to see if there's any trends, any medications she's on, or any treatment plans. We also share it with our nutrition team so they can see her activity budget and what she's engaging in and how her diet can further support that. So a really big part of welfare science team is that we love to collaborate with other teams and making sure that we're working together to give Kamala optimal well-being. So if you would like, I'd love to share a little Zoom monitor session on how we actually record our data. So we're all loaded. So we have her habitat selected. We have Kamala selected. She's pink, of course. We'll start our session. So you can see here we have a list of all of her behaviors. We have inactive, locomotion, feeding and foraging, hunting behaviors, investigating behaviors, object manipulation, self-maintenance. So if she is grooming, we have scent marking, solitary play. We also have keeper interactions, and behavior obscured and animal not visible. And we have her habitat map. So you can see Kamala right now is definitely exploring, definitely investigating. And what Zoo Monitor will do, it will beep every minute. And on the beep is what we will record. And it's very important that we stay very systematic when recording behavior because we want to make sure our output is reliable. And we want to stay consistent. as consistent as possible. Yeah, we want to get away from anthropomorphizing on what we think she feels. We just want to really stick to our ethogram and what she's doing. So you'll hear my beep. Alrighty. So then we will select Kamala. She was moving at the time of the beep. And we will find that tree, which is right here on my map. And I'm going to put her right in front of the tree. Perfect.
Can I just say, too, that every time I've ever been to the zoo, I spend about 20 minutes at the tiger enclosure just watching what the tiger does independently, and it's one of the great joys of going there. It's fantastic.
Hopefully we can get an angle here to see her. She's choosing a tree for us that's just off camera.
Good job. Yeah, so just like us, you know, we like to get a snack and go on the couch. Pretty similar to Kamala. So I will put foraging for that. Feeding, foraging. I'm going to put her right in her den and I'll lock it for the next beep. So over time, and we have multiple observers, we have a team of 12 amazing zoo monitor volunteers that are here, rain, snow, heat waves, with lots of crowds. They are so committed. And they are watching Kamala every day, all the time, which is amazing data to have. Do we have any questions about Kamala in general or welfare science?
We certainly do. So, I mean, one of the very first ones that came up is, what is her diet? What are you feeding her amidst all this stuff?
Yeah, so right now she looks like she has a bone. I'm not sure. But she does get a variety of bones, meat strips. She is a carnivore.
Yeah.
Eating all the meats.
Yes.
And then, how long has she been there? How long have you had Kamala?
So Kamala, I've been here at the zoo for about 10 years now, and Kamala has been here the entire time that I have been here, and I think even a little bit before that. So she has been a longtime resident of the zoo, and she will, because as Olivia mentioned as well, I think in the beginning, she is an older cat, so she will live out the rest of her days here as well.
Nice. And then her age. So you talked about her being older at the beginning. How old is she?
She is around, she's 2008. So let's do some quick math on that. Just
17.
Beat me to it. There we go. Yeah, so she's quite an older cat for sure.
Nice.
But she she doesn't look like it by the way she moves and hunts in her exhibit.
Yeah. So Jesse, if you wanted to go to Harry's data, they are very different, which is really interesting because they have the same habitats, they have similar diets, and they have the same opportunity, but they use the space a little bit different. Now, I don't want to call Harry lazy, but he is inactive a lot more than Kamala, which is totally fine. Like cats at home, what do they do all day? What does your cat do all day? They like to sleep, they like to eat, they like to play. And Harry is the king of inactivity. Kamala's a lot more aware. Kamala is very engaged with her keepers. She's always looking for her keepers. She has a really, really strong bond with her keepers. And that is super reinforcing for her. Whereas Harry and catnap is a little bit more reinforcing for him. So you can see their behavioral budgets are very different. And for Harry, his inactivity is a lot higher than Kamala. And you can see their space use is a little bit different as well. For that top image, Harry also just moved to this habitat. He was with our Amur habitat during construction. So we do have a little bit less data of him in here, but we can see that when we compared both of the habitats, which is also an option on Zoo Monitor, and we compared their activity budgets, it stayed the exact same, which is a really good sign for us that the habitats didn't really have a huge impact on their overall behavior, which is what we were really closely monitoring. Yeah. And delete this session.
Neat. Thank you so much. And I'll bring up just so everyone can see the data back to back. I'll do it.
Perfect.
Boom, boom. There we are. Very, very different.
Awesome. So one way we can kind of step this up a little bit. Yes, we have amazing volunteers. Yes, it's the best part of my job. And I do love watching the animals. But Toronto Zoo, we want to step it up. And how we can do that is how can we monitor our animals all the time when we're not here, morning, night? And what if we even take it a step further? What if we can get an email sent to the keepers of what their animals are doing. So this is what we're working on next. And I really want to introduce to you my good friend and partner, Lee Dunn, who is our post-op, who will be working with our CCTV cameras and AI and all things animal behavior. So here you go.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. My name's Lee Dun Chen, as Olivia said, and I'm also on the welfare science team. I'm a postdoctoral fellow researcher developing this tool called Zoo AI. So this tool is automated behavioral monitoring technology that can be used to monitor animals autonomously, get quick measures of space usage, activity budgets, figure out just how much time Harry or Kamala might be spending resting, feeding, object manipulation, interacting with various enrichments in their habitat, and possibly how much time they're engaging in potentially welfare concerning behaviors such as pacing. So I guess to kind of start it off with us being here at the zoo, we're challenged with this very kind of daunting but rewarding task of not only providing animals not only saving animals from extinction, but providing them with the very best care possible on a daily basis. So if we kind of start up the slide deck, just as equally nice as maybe looking at me, I'm going to be showing some slides of some really cool footage of how we are utilizing artificial intelligence right here at the Toronto Zoo. So this is an example with our polar bears, resident polar bears, Juno and Hudson. And so you can see what we're doing with this work is we're literally transforming, doing something very special and turning video data into behavioral data in order to glean some very good behavioral insights into how these animals actually navigate throughout their habitats and how they're allocating their activity use budgets. So what you can see in the bottom left as well is the dynamic activity budget. So it's showing the exact behavior that the animal is engaged in real time. And if we click onto the next slide, if we're using our behavioral detections, thinking of that habitat that the animal is engaged in as an XY coordinate system, we're actually able to identify some specific behavioral trajectories that are specific to those individuals and get an idea of what those areas of the habitat that are lit up. You can see how much time an animal is spending engaged and spending time at various regions of the habitat. What areas are heavily preferred and utilized versus areas that might be underutilized. So with that being said, we have a really great, as Olivia said, as Mary Ellen had mentioned, we have a really great wildlife care staff. And this is just all to say, as well as a really fantastic veterinary team. And those listening in, I'd just like to mention that there's a lot of different ways to do conservation science. And one of those ways is through becoming a veterinarian. One of those is by becoming a wonderful wildlife care staff. But we can also assist and support wildlife science initiatives by science and through science. So realizing that we can use artificial intelligence to kind of streamline some of the behavioral monitoring technologies, behavioral monitoring tasks that help us to better understand welfare monitoring is really integral. And if our ultimate goal is to increase the individual well-being of species under our care. So this is just really important to mention really quickly, setting the scene that we're currently under the sixth mass extinction crisis, whereby a lot of animals are being lost to extinction faster than we can even begin to describe them. So using artificial intelligence, we can begin to monitor and increase and bolster some of the monitoring technologies that will help to better understand these species and provide the best care possible. Just listed below are some of the leading factors contributing to species loss, anywhere from climate change, poaching, and the pet trade to the conversion of natural landscapes where these wildlife subside into habitat or into agricultural farmland. So we're seeing a degradation of a lot of habitats that were originally meant for wildlife. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. So how do we actually develop these pipelines that enable us to do behavioral monitoring? We've all heard of artificial intelligence, and it's for good reason that it's been applied across the engineering, agriculture, medical sectors. But the kind of technology that we're going to be using today, it's not ChatGPT, it's not image generation, it's something called computer vision. Ooh. Okay, so what computer vision does is we're essentially going to be asking 3 simple questions, or 2 primarily, but computer vision is using algorithms or a set of instructions, if you will, in order to gain information from images or video data. So we have an array of video cameras here at the zoo. They have infrared sensors, so we can even monitor them at night. So we have a tool that can do 24/7 monitoring. But what these object detection algorithms are going to do is identify and classify, which is answering the what of what is in this image. Is it a cat or a dog? And then we can go a step further even and say, do object detection, and not just say answer the what, but also the where. So we can identify, oh, there's a cat here, or there's a dog there, and then specifically identify where in the frame those animals are located. All right, so we can move on to the next slide. And kind of moving back, why this technology is potentially very important is because behavioral monitoring, behavioral science is quite tricky in general. And being able to understand the welfare state of an individual, as Olivia had mentioned, it's a very complex trait composed of the animal's nutrition, the animal's behavior, its health status, the environment that they're subjected to. And so what this means for us is if we can develop a tool to streamline and answer some of these questions a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more objectively, then we'll be able to understand the animal's mental state a little bit better and really provide the best care possible, given that these animals here are going to be living, a lot of them are going to be living here for their entire lives. We really want to make sure we have a targeted plan to check off all these boxes and make sure that we're continuously improving their lives. So I'd argue that through using these AI kind of computer vision technologies, we can streamline answering the who, what, when, where, and why these animals engage in different behaviors throughout different times of the day, throughout different seasons when temperatures change, and especially throughout different developmental milestones. As a baby tiger becomes a adult tiger into the mama tiger stage, these are all really important different kind of critical junctures in an animal's life. And as that animal becomes geriatric, how do those behavioral profiles change? So here at the Toronto Zoo, we're in the Indo-Malay area right now, and we have a plan to increase our monitoring efforts through the use of CCTV cameras. So you can kind of see that throughout the habitat, we've got some cameras set up already, and we're going to use that information, all that input video data, in order to create what are called these machine learning object detection models. All right, and if we move on to the next slide, we can kind of see the overall workflow. I'm not going to busy us up too much with the details, but overall the workflow is actually pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of collecting video data that is representative of the animal that we're trying to better understand. So the two tigers here, Kamala and Harry, are beautiful Sumatran tigers. We're going to collect data from them and across all the conditions that we very lovingly get to enjoy across this throughout Canada here in Ontario. So across differing weather conditions, snow and rain, across differing lighting conditions, these are all the conditions that we want to be able to capture video content for our individuals of interest. And we want to be able to capture those specific behaviors in order to train the model. So ultimately, we use those behavioral, if we're at step 2 here, we're going to use all this data that we consider training data in order to let the model learn, this object detection model learn what exactly it looks like for a tiger to be feeding. What does it look like for a tiger to be resting? It's obvious to a human observer, but for the model, it's like a baby that you have to kind of teach and let it learn what exactly that kind of behavior looks like. And keeping in mind that these behaviors might look like in different contexts, in different environments, across different weather conditions. And so in the next slide, I have a little example of what that annotation process looks like. And so this is a really short 10-second, actually, it's only a 10-second video, but in order to annotate, you can see I'm literally drawing a bounding box in real time. We're drawing bounding boxes to let the camera know, hey, this isn't a human here, or this isn't just a rock that the animal's sitting on. This is the bear that I want you to be able to, I want the model to know, okay, this is Hudson, or this is Juno, our resident polar bears here. We just have some boxes kind of placed over, as well as colorful boxes to cover up some guests. We want to keep them nice and confidentiality safe for them. But with that being said, we have this 10-second video that's representative of, okay, Hudson or Juno walking and locomoting. First they were resting, and then they were locomoting. And it's a really short video, right? But in order to train this model and to annotate this video data set, it takes about 30 minutes just to annotate this 10-second video. So it is an upfront kind of cost, but once we're able to automate these processes, there's a large amount of information to be gained once we have reliable working models. And now we're going to kind of move on to show you what those models might look like, what they're actually capable of. So we're kind of moving back between polar bears and our wonderful tigers. This is Mazzy, our Amur tiger, over in Amur Tigerland in Eurasia or Australasia. And what we're able to see here is that Mazzy is locomoting throughout her habitat, and we're actually able to identify exactly how she's utilizing that space. And in the bottom left, we can also see the dynamic activity budget. It might need to be clicked on to move. I'm not certain, but oh yeah, there we go. But what we're kind of seeing is that we're able to kind of get these comprehensive measures now of how these animals are actually responding to various enrichment practices. So this is another example of Mazzy. And what we're seeing here is Mazzy is interacting with enrichment items. So we saw earlier how quick it was for Kamala to go and eat that meat and interact with the enrichment items, which is really important. These feeding events and interacting with enrichment, really positive indicators of welfare. We love to see that. And so, but given that it happens so rarely, or not that it happens rarely, but it happens very quickly over time, 5-10 minutes a day, and that food is gone. It doesn't take long. So you best believe that when we are capturing these videos, we want to develop models that consistently and reliably detect these behaviors when they do happen throughout the day. And at the end of the monitoring session, we get this really nice, clean picture and visualization in the bottom right of what's called an activity budget. So we see that activity budget lit up with purple or pink, and that's just indicative of that. Mazzy, the Amur tiger in the video, is just really enjoying that enrichment. She's very engaged with enrichment that she's been given. We've so far demonstrated, if we move to the next slide, we've demonstrated this technology can be applied very successfully across differing weather conditions. The model has no problem detecting this beautiful tiger, whether it's snowy conditions, whether it's raining. And then thanks to infrared sensors in the cameras, we can, again, thinking of this habitat that the tiger is meandering through as an XY sort of coordinate system, mapping those specific behavioral trajectories so we can have targeted interventions, realizing that okay, in this specific kind of instance where we have this heat map in the bottom right for pacing, we can see that the pacing path or trajectory for Mazzy is along the fence line every time at 7:30 p.m., let's say, and it happens for 5 minutes or whatever kind of period of time. We can then decide whether or not and start to quantify whether or not this is a true welfare concern, but it also gives us this analytical kind of approach and data to inform specific targeted intervention plans if deemed necessary. All right, moving on to the next slide. This is just an example with the polar bears. We're starting to develop with our polar bears as well. And while this behavior shown for Juno looks very graceful, her swimming back and forth, just like an Olympic swimmer would. She's kind of doing some flip turns and whatnot, some somersaults in the pool, quite graceful looking, but there is a potential welfare concern in that it's potentially energetically exhausting. And what we'd like to be able to show is that we're able to quantify exactly the number of laps that are being swam back and forth in order to determine how much is she actually lap swimming on a day-to-day basis throughout different seasons in response to different management strategies. That way we can kind of target intervention if deemed necessary. And in the next kind of picture, using those behavioral detections themselves, we can use those detections in order to set up a alert system that is fully automated. And so what this enables us to do is if we see pacing for 2 minutes straight in one of our tigers, we can have a really quick intervention and have an email sent to the wildlife care staff of interest in order to let them know, hey, the tiger's pacing, and have some sort of intervention if deemed necessary. So that, and in that email message, it's difficult to see, but it's coming directly from the welfare team here at the zoo, and we're providing our best suggestions to kind of curb that behavior if it's deemed that if it's deemed that the tiger is pacing a little bit. Yeah, and so we've also kind of been developing these alert systems for the polar bears as well. There's some head swinging behavior in the polar bears that is sometimes observed, but what we actually found in the summertime when we first got this set up is that Hudson, our polar bear, although he engages in head swinging from time to time, could be a potential welfare concern. We're finding that in the bottom right, you can see that it's only taking up a very small percentage of that 24-hour daily budget. Only a small portion is being allocated towards head swinging. And in that activity budget of proportions in the upper right, the numbers are small, but it's showing that it's only occurring for 0.5% of all detections. So this is providing really important, what we're wanting to call baseline information in order to identify what is a typical behavioral pattern for this individual and for this species for this time of year, and what might be considered a behavioral anomaly, so then we can have some very targeted interventions, really provide the best care possible to our animals here at the zoo. So these are just some functionalities of the tool. We're really excited about being able to bring these to the Toronto Zoo and possibly making this technology widely accessible to the wider zoo community. Oh, we have Kamala coming through. That's really nice. But with that kind of being said, that's kind of wrapping up. But with our AI tools, we're hoping to really streamline some of our behavioral monitoring processes.
Lidan, thank you so much for all that. It's such high tech, but it's for the purposes of making sure that animals have a better life. And this is something that we're going to keep coming back to throughout all the Guardians of Wild series with the zoo. It's really exciting to feature. And we've got all sorts of commentary on it in our zoo YouTube and Facebook channels too. So a big thank you to our audience for all that as well. Before we dive in with Q&A, is there anything else you want to share with us before we start taking all our bazillion queries we've got?
I think we're good for right now, Jesse. If we got the questions coming, Kamala decided to come over and join us after her snack, and she is ready for some questions all about her.
Amazing. I've got to say, as I said, we've done about 40 programs at the zoo, and like we do a lot of animal programs in just by and large with all sorts of groups all over the world. The Toronto Zoo consistently has the animals come right up to the camera, which is just such a fluke. I think it's Mary Ellen's influence drawing them in. It's very exciting. All right. Miss Riddle's class in Nova Scotia has a ton of great questions. We're going to start with a few from YouTube, and then we're going to go to our Willowwood, Bayside, Madeline, all live with us. Jennifer wants to know, how do we determine which behaviors are concerning? So like you talked about head swinging, you talked about pacing. How do we know that those are bad? And is there any sort of benchmark for that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And again, I have to lean in on our keepers as they know our animals best. So a lot of, if any concerning behavior comes up, it's essentially from our wildlife care staff. They know these animals inside and out, and we have a behavioral monitoring kind of request form. So if they see something weird, or if they see a behavior that is like abnormal from their regular repertoire, they reach out to the welfare team, and we are on it right away. Again, we really collaborate with other zoos as well. So we look what's in the literature, we look what's out there. We can reach out to our friends at other zoos, saying if they've seen a specific behavior in the same species, and then we workshop from there. So it's all really individualized care, and we do it together holistically to... Hi!
Hello, Kamala.
Yeah, so we work together on it.
Sweet. Well, this is actually a perfect segue into our next question from Robin online, who wants to know the AI data you're collecting. Is it going to be shared across zoos and zoo associations, or is it just for you for now?
Yeah, so we've began giving some presentations at the Association of Zoos and Aquariums annual meeting, and the work is being pretty well received. We've had some contacts regarding being able to prototype this tool and being able to distribute it to other zoos. So there will be a publication upcoming pretty soon. So the materials, the code necessary to reproduce this pipeline and to apply it to other species at other zoos is forthcoming, and will be made available open source to the wider AZA community and beyond.
Sweet. And AZA, so the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, we've talked about this in broadcasts with Mary Ellen before, but basically if you go to a zoo or aquarium in the world, look for AZA accredited, or in Canada, CAZA, CAZA, sorry, oh man, as a Canadian, I'm in big trouble. It means that the zoo or institution is at the highest standard of animal care. They're really doing a lot to look out for animal welfare, and it's really, really important to go to those sorts of places. So big thanks for that. Madeline, I'm going to head to Toronto. If you have got our first question, you can unmute your mic, come on in and take us away. Hey.
Awesome. I was wondering what changes you make when you notice stereotypies in order to either prevent them or change them into something else.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we will look at different ways that we can keep our, essentially listed with Kamala, occupied. So a really big enrichment that we found has helped with stereotypies for them is they like to scent mark. So Harry and Kamala can actually communicate to each other through their scents, even though they do not share a habitat, they share same spaces. So we found that when we workshopped having multiple switch ups throughout the day, that kept Kamala pretty occupied because she wants to cover all Harry smell, and Harry wants to cover all of Kamala smell. So having the scent mark and having that natural instinct to have, this is my home and this is what I protect, has really helped them. But again, we're always reaching out to other zoos. We're getting really creative, and we want to make sure that when we intervene, we're all on the same page and everyone understands what we're doing, because consistency is key when we're working with a stereotypic behavior.
Yeah, what a great nuanced answer. Thank you so much for that. All right, Bayside, I haven't seen you guys in a while. So nice to have you back with Iowa's class. Unmute your mic. Come on in. Hey.
Hi.
I'm excited too. Do you have any questions for our zoo team today?
Yeah. Where did you get the animals from?
Ooh, where are we getting the tigers from?
That's a great question, and one that I love when we get on our programs, Jesse, because there's a lot of history with zoos and where animals come from and sort of how we have our animals in collection. Now, historically, you know, we're always very open about this as well, that in olden times, or when zoos were first starting out, we didn't have amazing people like our welfare science team thinking about the animals in our care and the wild counterparts. So unfortunately, animals were often taken from the wild to bring into zoos as just collection elements. There wasn't really the same level of conservation efforts that we see now. It was more for entertainment purposes. But we are so happy to say that there has been a drastic shift in that. And so now there's a few ways that we are getting our animals. So there are a couple who are in collections still around the world that may have been part of a wild first collection or bringing in, and they are not able to be returned to the wild. So they have lived in a zoo for too long. They've been under animal care or human care, to the point where they are unable to care for themselves. So they are, again, being treated and worked on with our welfare science to make sure that they have the best possible life in captivity, and also that they are being ambassadors for their species and helping us in programs like this, or when you come visit the zoo and you're learning about that species in a very up close way, which is really meaningful and hopefully helps us all to work together to conserve their counterparts in the wild as well. And then the most common way that we get animals now in the zoo is through breeding conservation programs. So there's something called an SSP, which is a species survival plan, and animals are genetically listed in this kind of big database. And zoos or accredited facilities all over the world are working together, and we all kind of know who each other has in their collections. And we look at different genetics, and we want to preserve the best possible genetics in captivity. So they will match up to individuals, sometimes at different zoos across North America or maybe even the world. And they will take a look at which zoo has the space, capacity, and the best welfare for maybe a pairing and a new potential offspring in the future. So that's typically how zoos get new animals now. And then occasionally as well, I think we talked about this in our last broadcast, an animal who might come in through a rescue situation. So zoos might work with local sanctuaries or rescue wildlife organizations. And occasionally some animals are not able to be returned into the wild if they were injured or in human care for too long. So a wide range for sure.
It's a really great question. When I volunteered at the Toronto Zoo, when I worked at Ripley's Aquarium, seeing how many things are traded across zoos and aquaria around the world is really, really neat. So I always love when we get this question too. Thanks, guys. All right, Willowwood School has a big question. They were particularly interested in penguins, but when is this technology going to be rolled out to other animals in the zoo, or is it for other animals outside of the tigers and polar bears?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. I was a little far.
Sorry, we're just moving here. Do you mind repeating the question for us?
Yeah. Do you have the same tech for other animals than the tigers and polar bears, particularly penguins, was our class's query.
No, so not yet with penguins, but we're kind of just starting to prototype now. I started at the zoo about 1.5 years ago, and we're really excited about some of the developments that we have made with the tigers to begin with, specifically Mazzy, our armor tiger. We're hoping to carry this work on with our Sumatrans here. We've done it with the polar bears. We're continuously developing to add on more cool functionalities that are useful to managing these species. Like the others have said, providing the best care possible to them on a daily and throughout their lifetime kind of basis. But we do have plans to hopefully continue on with other species, especially underrepresented species across the zoo.
Well, I've got to say, for Willowwood, we eagerly await the penguin broadcast in the future as a follow-up to this. So fingers crossed that's next year. We're going to take 3 more questions before we wrap up. Time flies and you're having fun. I'm coming to both our live groups in just a second. I'm going to take one more from YouTube first. Ms. Riddle's class is a great one. Can you use AI to specifically look at certain behaviors? Like, could you say pacing and it would bring up all examples of that at the zoo?
That's a really great functionality that I think we can consider adding on. That'd be really fantastic. So something that we do have currently is when the loop swimming occurs, just so we can verify it. I have a screenshot automatically be taken if that loop swimming behavior gets detected for a consistent period of time, say 2 minutes. That way I can quickly verify. But yeah, that's definitely a technology or kind of feature that we would be able to integrate. So thank you for that great idea.
Super cool. I've got to say too, as you were answering that, we had Kamala there like crouched and then suddenly spring up, and there was like a primal feeling in my heart when that happened. So I don't know if anyone else felt that too, but that was wild. Madeline, I'm going to come to you, and then we're going to wrap up with our Bayside crew in a minute. If you're on YouTube or Facebook and you want to email us extra questions at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we can pass them to the zoo team. I know we've had more queries than we could possibly answer in one show, but Madeline, come on in with your great question and take us away. Hey.
Awesome. I had an extra question, and it's that, do you think there would be applications for this technology in contexts like surveying wildlife behaviors in response to anthropomorphic change, like a new highway or a new development?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we're hoping to integrate into the models, they haven't been integrated yet, but just getting an idea of guest numbers. We actually do have a good program with our welfare monitoring. We do a lot of sound testing, figuring out what is the actual sound levels that are going on in an exhibit. How are those animals perceiving that sound from a decibel level and from frequency level, according to different, whether there's construction in the area, whether there's a large population of guests that are visiting in that area for the day. So that's definitely a factor that we're going to want to build into our program, certainly.
Yeah. I will say too, on the sort of like impact of human environments on animals, a really great example of this is in Banff National Park. So they do the world comes to Banff to understand overpasses over highways, but there used to be a lot of wildlife or animal car collisions, and then they built the overpasses and have cameras there to sort of assess how they're using those. It's really, really cool stuff. We featured it in one of our broadcasts in the past, and that's like a golden example of how that would be used effectively. We've also talked about leopards in Mumbai before, where they actually are like big cats in a city center. So some really cool potential applications for this. And Lee Dunn, I can't wait to have you on for some broadcasts in the future, man. All right. Bayside, you get the honor of wrapping us up. I want to stress for all our audience, if you want to check out the full Guardian series, it's there. Toronto Zoo has an amazing website, social media presence, and beyond. And this program will be on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out or share it with friends after. But Bayside, if you want to come in with your final question, take us away. Hey.
How much do the animals cost?
How much do they cost? Mary Ellen.
Priceless.
They're priceless to us. That's a really good question. It's hard to put that kind of a price tag on them. The only way that I could think of comparably putting it is it costs over $1 million a year to feed all of the animals here at the zoo. So I guess if you were going to put a price on it, that could be one. But to say that each individual animal maybe had a price or, their genetics and their value to the conservation in the world, I don't think you can put a price on them. But I would say they cost quite a bit to feed. The whole zoo is a very large operation. We're open 365 days a year. There's a lot of staff that go into caring for the animals. So we could probably sit down and do some math, but they are definitely priceless in our hearts and our minds.
That's a beautiful answer. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Before we wrap up and say farewell to all our audience tuning in from around the world, is there any last message you want to leave us with about this cool tech you're using to understand and help conservation?
100%. So I'm going to have Olivia and Lee come back onto camera here for us and leave us with our final message.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you so much for having us. And I really want you, if you're going to a zoo or even if you're going to a park or even in your own backyard, I really invite you not only to just look at the animals, but actually watch. Take a second, watch, see what they're doing. They're doing pretty amazing things, from tigers in the zoo to even your dog and cat are home, or your squirrel in your backyard. I really want you to watch and learn behavior, because they're pretty remarkable and it's awesome. So yeah.
Thanks so much for your guys' time and tuning in. It's always a pleasure to get to share some of the innovative work and technologies that we're developing, and especially getting viewer feedback, feedback from guests, feedback from potential collaborators, and all around. It's just super important that we're able to integrate that into the tool that we're developing so we can truly provide the best value to our animals here.
Amazing. Thank you two so much. And just can't wait to have you back. Next week, we're doing another. Again, those are all on that website I keep featuring. Please do join us. We look very forward to having you on the Zoo, YouTube, and Facebook, our YouTube at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For now, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now. Thanks.
Bye.